was there sort of any kind of spiritual darkness climax that you reached in this point, or
Yeah, I got a boyfriend halfway through all of this, and he started when I first met him, he was like a rapper and all this stuff, and he had all these lofty ideas and these dreams, and I was really attracted to that. He was also, very involved in like gang violence. And I was living with him. Everything started off great, and I was dancing. But slowly, he started taking control of my finances, and he was taking every single penny that I earned. And especially when I was working even at the high end clubs, he was taking everything. And I
yeah,
remember one night, I came back home from the clubs, and it was probably about like 6 in the morning. For me, that was night because that's when I would sleep. It was like 6 in the morning. I was laying in bed, and my eyes were like pried open. I was laying in bed, but my eyes were pried open. And I saw smoke from the corner of my eye coming through the door. And the smoke started traveling towards me. And then the smoke started making like a face, like an actual, like a skeleton face. And it said, like, can I come inside of you? And I was like, no. And then it said, I'll be back. And it just went back through the door. So I don't know, like while I was drinking and doing drugs, I was probably being possessed. And then, when you're sober, it's harder for them to force their way inside of you.
did
So
it like like any connection with a spirit spouse at all, like with the
oh yeah.
sexual immorality too, or mostly like the possession of like drug and alcohol abuse?
It was also weak with him as well. Like, I'm sure he had a lot of demonic stuff. I think that's what attracted me to him too, was because I was, filled with demons, and that was the chemistry that we thought was chemistry. It was like completely demonic. Yeah.
Yes, I met a guy in the club that like I thought he was my twin flame. I thought we were gonna be together. Like I was obsessed with this guy. And looking back, I'm like, I remember thinking like there was something in our souls that recognized each other right away. Like, oh, we must
Hmm.
be twin flames. No,
Yeah.
it was our demonic spirits.
Yeah.
It was our demonic spirits that recognized each other and like you said, built that chemistry. That's a
Hmm.
profound point.
Hmm.
Especially like when you're living in sin with somebody, you know that's not the spirit of God
Hmm.
that's attracting that person.
Mm-mm. No way. Yeah, and it's like the opposite,
Yeah.
of that. Anyhow, that was my situation with him, and I was in total bondage. In the beginning it was freedom, and then very fast it became bondage. I had to work like almost 6 days a week. So I thought he was making music. He told me all of these great lies about himself, but he would actually like steal cars. I ended up finding out that he just lived his life through robbing other people.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness. He was kind of like pimping you then at that point if he's taking.
almost. Yeah, I was, yeah, his full-time girlfriend, but I would find like things in his cars from other girls. And then towards the end, it just became so prevalent that he was cheating on me, but I was really scared to get away from him.
So how did that happen? What was
Well,
next?
it all came to kind of a head. I was going to clubs and dancing, pretty much being forced to every day, and I was so weary and I was just so tired of it. And I couldn't go to work anymore without, drinking as much as possible or taking as much as of whatever it was to just numb it. And I know my mom was praying for me like throughout all of this. There was even one time where like I was smoking weed and I could like hear the prayers of my parents like
Really?
audibly in my ear.
Gosh. Their
Yeah.
voices and everything?
Yeah, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm hearing voices. I'm going crazy." And my boyfriend's like, "Yeah, you're absolutely going crazy. You're going
Crazy.
insane." And I started Googling things like, how to, I'm demon possessed. Like, how do I get freed from this? What do I do? And just kind of like reaching out like online and through some of the girls that were there, like at the clubs. They were like, "Well, you need to go see a priest. You need to get help."
Okay.
And I found an opportunity. My parents were leaving on a trip to visit my sister. And I knew this would be an opportunity to kind of escape, my at time boyfriend. And everything was coming also to a head, like with my spiritual life. I was just so broken down. I wasn't eating. I lost like 40 pounds in a matter of like almost 2 months. I was just like diminishing
Yeah.
almost like spiritually. Like I couldn't smile anymore. I couldn't look at people in the face. If I went and got food, I couldn't look at them in the face. I was like very scared of my boyfriend at the time. Like one time I remember looking at him and I could have seen like his eyes change. Like they looked like snake eyes.
Yeah.
And I was like so hyper aware.
My mom told me she saw the same thing in her ex-husband, who is definitely demon possessed. She said the snake eyes exactly. So you
Mhm,
were starting to be aware of
mhm,
this, the darkness that's
mhm.
surrounding you.
So, I was trying to work things out like on my own, thinking about finding like a priest or somebody that could help me. I put on my phone on my screensaver on my phone, it was like the 10 commandments. So I thought like if I went by, that for some reason, I was like, trying to, but didn't really know how, or like I did know how, but I didn't want to repent in a way. Came to a point where this is the time. Like, this is the time I either have to die or God has to come in and save me. And one morning, it was like 6 in the morning, and I was laying in bed. And I was like, I think I'm just going to like literally just die right here. Like, I can't live another moment of my life. And I just asked the Lord, and I was reading on my phone, it was like, in order to, be saved from demon possession, you have to be filled with the Holy Spirit. And if not, like worse will come to you. So I, sat in my bed and I just prayed to the Lord, and the TV was on. I think it was like Charles Ray Stanley, like in the morning, Charles Stanley. And
Yeah.
he was just talking about, saying the sinner's prayer. So I did that. And at that very moment, I just felt something like hit the glass of the window and leave. I immediately picked up my Bible. I had Bible still. I would never pick it up, but I picked it up. And it was 2 Corinthians 3:16, and says, "For where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty."
Yes. And so now that this demon just like fleed from you because you prayed this
Mhm.
prayer, now you can, you have the desire to pick up the Bible too and like
Mhm.
open the Bible because the demons will keep us from
Yeah.
doing that. Um,
Exactly. And from even comprehending it, because I wouldn't have like necessarily comprehended that like beforehand. And it was like saying like looking into a mirror from glory to glory. And as soon as I read that, I ran into the mirror and I wanted to look into my eyes. And I looked into my eyes and they were so much clearer. Like they had so much haziness in them before, but they actually looked just more clear.
because
And
yeah, you are the window of the soul. Yes.
uh-huh. And I had astrology rings and necklaces. I took them all off that said my sign. And I took out a bunch of other piercings that I had. I went and threw away some astrology books, a phone cover, everything that I had that had to do with astrology at that very moment. And I was like, okay, Lord, like, this is it. And then I had to figure out how to escape my boyfriend at the time. So then this is when the Lord was kind of like, literally, I was like, I have to do it now. Like, I have to literally run away from, because he was sleeping in the bed next to me. I knew he had a gun, and he slept with it on the side of his bed. So I gathered up a lot of my things. I left a lot of stuff behind. And I took the bottom of his gun, like the clip of his gun where all the bullets were, and I put it in one of my bags. This is when I kind of just made my escape because I was just going to run home and figure it out from there. And I'm living in Hollywood at the time. So I'm living with him. We're like in a hotel because we lost everything. We had no money. That's why I was working so much. I got into the car and I saw him running down the stairs trying to chase after me.
Right.
And he had something in his pocket, but I knew that I was safe because I had the back of his gun. Yeah, the
It's
bullets.
crazy that you even had to be afraid of that. Like,
Yeah.
that's insane that that was even, but the fact that you were so proactive with it too, like God
Hmm.
led you to grab that.
Yeah, because I knew he was desperate. I knew he felt like if I was going away, like he would have nothing.
Yeah, other than robbing people. Yeah, that's
Yeah, and he
crazy.
had all of the money I had. We had a lot of money saved. He had all of it cash. I left with absolutely nothing.
How did you, so then did you make it home to your parents? Did you,
The whole way home, I was just praying to the Lord, and I was like, God, like I know you're real. I know you're real, Jesus. I need you. I need you right now. And it was raining and I was driving, and all of a sudden it was like Jesus entered my car. He just entered into my vehicle, and I just was in his like literal presence, the presence of the Lord. And I was like, Jesus, you're real, you're alive, you're here with me right now. And I just felt like all of his love for me. And it's like my whole life, like I heard about this being possible, but I've never experienced it. I drove to the gas station and I was able to find exactly $7. And I put $7 worth of gas into my car. And I, drove back home, and my parents, because I was texting my mom. And the first thing I texted her was like, "It is well with my soul." That's all I could say. Something random. She was like, "Okay, like, what does that mean?" But like,
But
that's
scriptural too.
yeah. I was like, "It's done. Like,
Wow.
it's over."
In the craziest, like, pinnacle point of your life when everything is crazy, chaotic, you could have died,
Mhm.
you had the peace and
Mhm.
presence of the Lord with you.
Mhm.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it was just that total peace that like just surpassed everything.